I pushed open the cafe door and stepped inside, the familiar smell of coffee and pastries wrapping around me like a soft blanket. My boots clicked softly on the tile floor as I moved toward the counter, the weight of my old army jacket settling comfortably on my shoulders. I kept my hat low, the purple heart pin catching the morning light. At 71, I'm no longer the soldier I was, but every patch and medal tells a story I'm proud to carry. They're not just decorations, they're reminders of the years I spent serving, the battles I faced, and the brother I lost. The cafe buzzed with life. Students tapped at laptops, business folks scrolled through their phones, and quiet conversations mixed with the clink of spoons against mugs. Sunlight filtered through the windows, casting soft glows on the worn wooden tables. I felt a moment of calm, the simple rhythm of a morning ritual. As I held the door for a young mother and her little boy, he pointed shyly at the medals on my jacket. She tugged him gently forward, but I caught his curious glance and gave him a small, quiet smile. For a moment, I thought maybe today would be different. When I reached the counter, the teenage cashier looked up. Her eyes scanned me from my boots to my hat, and something in her expression shifted, boredom twisting into something colder. "Sorry, sir," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We don't serve people like you." The words hit me like a sudden storm. I blinked, uncertain if I'd heard her right. People around us paused, their chatter dropping to silence. Some stared, others quickly looked away. My heart sank deeper with every second. Who was she talking about? Me? A veteran who stood tall despite decades of wear and tear, who'd buried friends and family under the flag I wore. "People like me?" I asked quietly. She didn't lower her voice. "Drifters, old guys hanging around," she said flatly, ignoring me and turning toward the next customer. A couple whispered nearby, calling me homeless, invisible. The manager appeared, a young man with a polished look, and waved me off. "We're running a business here," he said coldly. "This isn't a history museum. You're making customers uncomfortable." I stood frozen, my hands steady like they'd always been in far worse situations, but my chest felt heavy. No one said thank you. No one offered a kind word. They just watched, pretending I wasn't there. I wanted to speak, to remind them of who I am, but the weight of rejection pinned me in place. It wasn't just about coffee. It was about everything I've given, everything I've lost, and now being cast aside like I don't matter. I turned and left quietly, the door closing softly behind me. Outside, the cold air hit my face, but the sting inside was far worse. How did I become invisible? How did my service mean so little to the world around me? As I sat on a cold bench, the morning sun warm on my back, but unable to touch the chill in my heart, I stared down at my polished boots and wondered if anyone would ever see me again. Not just as a man in a jacket, but as someone who once gave everything. I've carried this jacket for more years than I can count. Each patch, each medal tells a story, stories of war zones where I walked, fought, and sometimes barely survived. The Vietnam jungles, the ambushes, the long nights waiting for orders that could mean life or death. I lost my younger brother there. He never made it home. The medal I wear for him sits close to my heart, tucked inside my jacket pocket. It's more his than mine. Carrying it is the only way I can keep him near. I keep my boots polished, even now, because discipline doesn't leave you when you hang up your uniform. Every morning, it's a quiet reminder of who I was and who I still am. My jacket may be worn and faded, but I care for it like it's the last thing I own. It's not about appearances. It's about respect. Respect for myself, for my unit, and for the sacrifices we made. I've faced danger and fear that most people can't imagine. I've stood in places where the ground shook and the air was thick with smoke. I've seen friends fall and had to keep moving, keep fighting, because that's what you do. But nothing prepared me for what happened today. Not bullets or bombs, but silence and cold rejection in a place I thought was safe. Sitting outside the cafe, I felt something heavier than my pack, the weight of loneliness. People passed by, glancing at me like I was a ghost. Some whispered without bothering to hide it. I heard words like homeless, drifter, and worse. They looked away quickly, ashamed or maybe afraid to face the truth. I'm neither homeless nor a drifter. I'm a man who served his country with everything he had. Yet here, I'm invisible. I looked at my reflection in a puddle nearby. The face staring back was weathered and tired, but still proud. Still holding on to memories no one else wants to hear. When did I become someone people ignored? When did the uniform stop meaning something? When did the sacrifices become invisible? Inside me, a storm brewed. There was anger, yes, anger at the disrespect, at the ignorance. But there was sadness too. Sadness for a world that can forget its heroes so easily. And pride. Pride in what I endured, in what I gave up, even if no one else saw it. I struggled with a question I never thought I'd ask. Why does serving my country mean so little here? Why am I treated like a burden instead of a brother? These thoughts pressed down on me, heavier than any gear I ever carried. But deep inside, I knew my story wasn't over. It couldn't be. I just had to find the strength to keep telling it, even when no one seemed to want to listen. I didn't even notice at first when a young man pulled out his phone and started recording. It was subtle, just the quiet tap of his fingers on the screen while I stood there, stunned. Later, I heard that video had been posted online, the caption calling out the unfairness of what had just happened to me. I wasn't looking for attention, but somehow that small act sparked something much bigger than me. Within minutes, messages began pouring in. Calls from old friends, veterans I hadn't spoken to in years, and strangers who said they wanted to help. People shared the video everywhere, on social media, veteran forums, and community groups. The flood of support was overwhelming, and for the first time in a long while, I felt seen. Not just as a soldier, but as a man who mattered. It reminded me there were still people who understood, who remembered, and who stood for each other. That feeling, hope, started to grow inside me. It was like a small fire burning after years of cold silence. I realized I wasn't alone, that my story was part of something larger. The power of community wasn't just words, it was real. And it was coming to me in the most unexpected way. Then I saw them arrive, men of all ages, from different branches of the military, stepping out of cars one by one. Each wore a full-dress uniform, polished shoes, shining medals, and proud expressions. They moved with a quiet discipline, the kind I knew well from years past. Some were older, like me. Others looked like they had just finished basic training. But they all shared the same purpose: to stand with me. As they walked toward the cafe, my heart swelled with pride and surprise. I never imagined this moment, never thought I'd see so many faces from my past and present come together for me. It was more than support, it was family. Brothers and sisters who understood without words, who knew what it meant to serve and sacrifice. They didn't shout or demand attention. Instead, they moved silently, calmly, taking their places beside me. Their presence filled the room with a new energy, one of respect, loyalty, and unwavering solidarity. It was clear we would not let this disrespect stand. Watching them stand there, I felt a deep sense of belonging. This wasn't just about one man or one cafe. It was about honoring all who have served,